Hey guys, Chelsea Studio here, and today we are talking about Copic markers. Today I'm giving you guys 5 tips for beginners about Copic markers or alcohol-based markers. The rules, or not rules, but guidelines here go for both, okay? So first, tip number 1 is paper. This is not just number 1 in the order, but it is also, in my opinion, the most important thing that you need to get right when you are starting with markers. So I have a couple of options here about papers for you guys, and I'm going to demonstrate with all of them. So the first one I wanted to show you is the one that I use the most. This is Smoothe Blending card. So what this is, it's like a thick cardstock, but it is a little glossy. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but it's a little bit glossy. And what that does is it stops the markers from drying super fast. I have cut this into a smaller piece. So this is a 5x7 little piece here just so I can show you guys. All right, so this is Smoothe Blending card. This is what I use most of the time, unless I'm just doing color experiments in my sketchbook. Okay, so there's that one. The next one we're going to talk about, I have some marker paper here. This is by Canson. It's the Pro Layout marker paper. I am not a huge fan. The next one we're talking about is the Canson Pro Layout marker paper. So I am not a huge fan of marker paper. This is better than some of the alternatives here. So Smoothe Blending card and then some marker paper. Bristol board can be a good option if it has a smooth finish to it. So I've included that one. And then we'll look at mixed media paper, printer paper, and also some sketchbook paper. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to blend with all 3 of these, or draw on all three. There's a lot more than 3 here. What I'm going to do is draw on all of these and show you how they react with the markers. So I'll get a really deep blue here. This is B29 Ultramarine, and I'm just gonna draw a couple of lines on the paper. And you can see the blending card, even though I did lines, it pretty much blended them together. Pretty nice, right? And also, bonus, the blending card, it bleeds through a little bit, but it doesn't harm your surface here. So that's good. The next one that we're gonna look at is some printer paper. I do have this doubled up just so I can show you guys. So let's do the same thing with the printer paper. And then as you can see, the printer paper bleeds through a little bit. And if I were to color in this side a little bit more heavier on that blending card, you would see that it didn't get on my desk, bled through just a little bit. But if I color harder on this printer paper, it does bleed through and it's got a little blue stamp on the other side. So if you're having trouble blending your colors, chances are you're not using the right paper. This is the mixed media paper. Mixed media paper is good for a lot of things. Marker, not so much. Can you see how fuzzy this is? One good thing about it is that it does not bleed through if it's thick enough, but you're using a lot of ink because it's meant to be able to handle soaking up a lot of moisture. So because of that, you know, it's just, it's hungry for that ink. Okay, so now we have some Bristol board. This is a smooth finish recycled Bristol board. It says its best use is pencil, colored pencil, pen and ink, marker, and gouache, but we'll see. I actually haven't used this one before. I've used Bristol before, and it kind of does the same thing as mixed media paper to me. Yeah, it's just really fuzzy around the edges. It soaks it up really fast. There's some good blendability here, I will say that, but it is eating all of that ink. And then we'll go to the Sketchbook next. This one you're probably gonna see the most dramatic non-blendability because it's sketchbook paper. It's not made for markers. And this is a really like full marker, so there's no reason it should be that light. It's just the sketchbook. It doesn't take the marker as well. And depending on the sketchbook, it might bleed through. This is a pretty thick one though. And last but not least, we're gonna use this Pro Layout marker paper. So at first glance, it seems to be doing pretty good. It doesn't soak in too heavily. It's not nearly as good of an initial blend as the Expressive Blending card. But the colors are a little bit more close, but you can see that it's not blending as well. One thing that I don't like about most marker papers is that they tend to expand out weirdly. If you get the kind that are super shiny, they'll have like a little ring around the edge almost. This paper is a little bit better marker paper than I'm used to, so that's nice. It doesn't bleed through, but again, it's not blending as well. So it's taking the marker really well, not being too fuzzy or anything like that, blending okay after some layers, but not blending nearly as much as this over here, which is actual blending card. So the reason that the blending card works so well is because it does have that glossy finish, so the markers have time to merge together before they soak into the paper, which is why you get that nice smooth blended thing right there. Okay, so paper, yes. Tip number 2, smooth blending. So since we are talking about blending, the way that I do blending is with backwards color blending, and I also am kind of picky about my color choice. So if I were wanting to blend 2 colors together, I would choose 2 that are close in value and analogous in hue. So close in value meaning that this color and like a B21, which is baby blue, they're gonna have a little bit tougher of a time mixing together. It's possible, but it's gonna require a lot of speed because they're just so far off in their value. So value is the darkness or lightness of a color. Whereas if I were to pick something like B26, that's only 3 away from my blue, I could blend these 2 together much more easily by putting down the lighter color first. And sometimes you can go darker first, it just depends on what you want to do. And then just backwards blending with the lighter color in that seam, and then doing the same and just repeating the blend with the backwards and forwards blend. And I can get a pretty good range of value here. All right, so the other thing you need to know about blending is blending with other colors. So you want them to be analogous, meaning that they are next to each other on the color wheel. So if you were to look at a color wheel, you would see that green is next to blue, and so is purple. So I could use green or purple and it wouldn't be harmful to the color. But if you go across like an orange, you're gonna make a brown. So let me show you that. So I have a B05 here. So I bet you that would mix well with a G05. So that's what I'm gonna do. And when I'm doing blending, I like to hold the caps in my hand like this, which is why I already have a marker on me. And I like to just loosely have them in there, holding them up so that I can go back and forth quickly. because part of the key to good blending is speed. So this is a pretty good blend, in my opinion. Okay, so I did it with green. Now I can do the same thing with purple. I have a V17, a violet 17, which I think is kind of close. It's a little bit more of a blue violet than an actual violet. So I'm just going back and forth. And you can see that these two blend together really well as well. Now let's try something that is orange, because that is our opposite, right? We were talking about that. Copic doesn't show orange. They always say yellow red. So yellow red 04 is chrome orange. So I'm gonna use yellow red 04, and I'm just gonna do what I was doing before. And you'll see that sometimes I fizzle out on the edge. That's just so that there's more blendability there. So I just made a new like green, but it's not doing too good with blendability, okay? So you wanna make sure that your colors are related. Tip number 3, color mixing. So we were just talking about this. Why do I keep moving this? We were just talking about this. So color mixing. Say that I don't have any turquoises at all, but I do have my G05 and my B05. I can make a turquoise. So I'm just gonna color in the area that I want to be turquoise, and I can go in and mix them. And right now the green is a little bit overpowering, but if I go back over with the blue, I get a nice turquoise. So that's the really cool thing about Copics, is you don't need a lot of colors to be able to make a lot of colors. So a lot of times what I'll do is, if I'm shading something, I'll actually use another color to shade it rather than just going into a darker blue. So I'm gonna do a whole series of videos on color theory and color mixing and stuff, but just tips for now. You can mix your Copics and it won't hurt the nibs, and everything will be good to go. Colorless blender. So I do apologize for mine. My colorless blender is, the tip is a little stained because I use it a lot. So yeah, sorry about that, but it still works. So say you have this square and you want to color it in. Let's go back to our orange just because we have a lot of cool colors over here. My eyes need some warmth. Okay, oh no, I went outside the edges. Well, the cool thing about Colorless Blender is it's kind of misnamed. It doesn't really blend, it more erases. So all I would do in this situation is take that Colorless Blender and just go in little circles around the edge and just kind of push towards where I want it to go. And it turned gray because the paper was wet, but now, voila, there's a little stain, but it's not nearly as bad as it was. So that's pretty cool. Another cool thing about the Colorless Blender, I'll go over here, is that you can add texture to it, or you can add highlights. So let's pretend like this, I don't know, is something shiny. Well, if I wanted to, I could add in some highlights just by drawing on it. It's almost like those magic markers that you saw on TV as a kid that like turn things invisible. This is a really cool thing if you want to do subtle details, because they, you know, come out pretty subtle. Okay, and then tip number 5. Wow, we're already on tip 5. How did that happen? Okay, your color reference sheet. So this is something that I don't see a lot of people talking about, and I really wish people would. I think people just assume that everyone knows they should do this. So my recommendation, anytime you get anything new, I do the same thing with watercolors. I'll swatch them out so I can see what they look like. I just recommend doing that. And with Copics, since they are kind of a transparent medium, they can layer. So I always do half that is just one stroke, and then the other half is like as many as I can do to where it stops layering. So some of them you can see can layer quite a bit, like this yellow green 67. That's a lot of range of value. And then others, they're kind of close, like the one next to it, the yellow 00. There's not a lot of difference there. So definitely recommend doing this. And a little bit of a bonus tip here, when I am working, I always have one of these. So I work 5x7 a lot. So the paper, the expressive blending card, comes in reams that are 8.5 by 11. And I actually cut them down, but it's not a perfect measurement. So I have like a ton of these like little baby strips here of the Copic paper, the expressive blending card, and I use these to test colors. Okay, thanks everybody so much for being here and for watching this video. I hope that this is really helpful for you guys. I know there's like a million marker tutorials out there, but you know, it's just something my audience has been asking for, so thank you for watching this tutorial specifically. If you'd like to see more stuff from me, I do have an Instagram and TikTok. I don't post on TikTok a whole lot, but I do post on Instagram almost every single day. And then if you want to buy some of my art, you can visit my website this way. But yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your week. Bye!